Well, hello, this is Tim David, and this is 6 ways that you can speak for free and turn that into paid gigs. Yes, this process does work, but there's reasons why it hasn't worked for you in the past. That's what this video is all about. Stick around. Yes, fantastic. This is Tim David from GetSpeakingGigs.com. Go ahead and hit subscribe to this YouTube channel. We do live streams every single day on the business of speaking, how to get your message out into the world to create an impact, and yes, of course, an income. I do corporate speaking. That is my focus. That is what I help speakers to get, is speaking in the corporate market. Even if you think you don't have a corporate speaking topic, get subscribed and you will see that if you can help people, then you can help corporations, because corporations are made of people. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Now let's go ahead and let's dive into today's topic. Listen, many people know my story. My story is well documented. It's in terms of how I was able to transition from being an entertainer to being a speaker, and I did so via booking free speaking gigs. Yes, indeed. Love the hat, says Facebook user Go Sox. Yes, coming to you from an undisclosed location today, not my typical office setting. Might even be hard for some of you to take advice from someone in a t-shirt and a ball cap with a terrible camera. Hey, go check out some of my other videos. Go to GetSpeakingGigs.com. Go to TimDavidSpeaks.com. See who this guy is. Anyway, let's do it. Let's dive in, because again, my story is going from doing free speaking gigs to now doing 5-figure speaking gigs and above with some of these corporate contracts. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about 6 reasons why maybe you've done free speaking in the past. There's 6 reasons why that it hasn't turned into paid speaking. And it took me a long time to learn this. When I first started doing this, I booked 48 free speeches in my first month, right? Listen, it's easy to book free speeches. It's easier to book free speeches. And it is a great marketing tool to go out there and speak, right? Speaking gigs beget speaking gigs. But I've heard too many people say, oh, Tim, they asked me to speak and that they would give me exposure if I speak for free. Well, you know what I told them? I told them people die from exposure. The only thing a free gig gets you is another free gig. Well, that's because these 6 reasons are preventing you from turning gigs into free gigs. And I learned the hard way. I did 1 gig, 2 gigs, 3 free, 4 free, 5 free, 6 free, 7 free. It didn't book a single thing until I figured out some of these patterns, because I knew speaking can beget speaking. And I knew it might be possible to turn free gigs into paid gigs. I just didn't know how. So here's the problem that speakers face when they try to turn free gigs into paid gigs. Reason number 1, if you have poor topic selection. Listen, like I said, it's easy to book free speeches, easier to book free speeches. And some people are desperate to have a speaker come and speak to their meeting. Public speaking is such a phobia that when someone says, hey, we need someone to get up in front of the room and speak, everybody backs out. And if you step forward, you got the gig, right? So it's easier to book a free speech. But when it comes time to pay you or to bring you in for a paid gig, they'll say, oh, that was good for the free setting when nobody else wanted to do it. But your topic, let me actually tell you, isn't super relevant to the audience that would actually pay for you to come and speak to them. So poor topic selection is the number 1 deal breaker when it comes to trying to get paid speaking gigs, right? You've got to be able to solve a problem that a group of people have. You've got to be able to scratch an itch. You've got to be able to make a promise that they will be different when they leave your speech than when they walked into your speech. So if you don't have a strong topic that is relevant, that is in demand, that's something there is budget for, you don't want to invent a topic, I promise you that. You want to find something, a topic that speakers are being hired for, and then you want to speak on that topic. But you can't ignore number 2, right? Because if you ignore number 2, you're not going to get the gig either. And number 2 is poor message packaging. That's the second mistake that people make when they're trying to turn free gigs into paid gigs. They have poor message packaging. They know what conversation they want to enter. I want to be a leadership speaker. Well, great, but what new insight do you have about leadership? that you want to bring to the table? What insight, what do you want to add to the conversation surrounding leadership? Oh, you want to speak on diversity, equity, and inclusion? Great. What new piece of information are you going to bring to the table? And the idea of, message packaging, again, I'll give you an example. I speak on human connection, right? That's not my topic. That's my insight. That's my packaging. So if a group of leaders wants to hire me, I'll come and do a leadership training and teach them how human connection can make them a better leader. I'm not a full versed, leadership expert. I haven't read 75,000 books on leadership. No, I stay in my lane, right? I package my information for leaders. But guess what? If a group of salespeople come and say, hey, Tim, what do you got? Guess what? That information is now packaged as human connection for salespeople, right? So that's an idea in terms of how to package it. And if you can't package your messaging so that you have an insight for an audience, then you are in trouble. And this is how certain speakers can have a message that is thousands of years old. Like, I don't know, human connection, people matter. Right? This is a pretty old message, but if you can take an old tried and true message and package it fresh, right? A lot of what Tony Robbins teaches is thousands of years old, right? All right, so that is mistake number 2, poor message packaging. Again, what spin do you have on the topic? Mistake number 3, poor delivery. Poor delivery. Now, this one isn't as big of a deal because in the age of authenticity, you can have a speaker who is unshaven and not in a suit and in a ball cap with messy hair, right? You can have that because, again, if and who says ums and ahs and steps over his words and starts a sentence and stops midway through, right? In the age of authenticity, people want you to get on stage, talk to them, with them, not at them. It isn't just a performance to be had on stage. They want experiential. And the idea of poor delivery, again, if you say or ah too much, that's not what I mean. What I mean is the inability to get that message across to an audience. So you can have a great topic, you can have a great spin on it, but if you can't communicate that to an audience in a way that isn't perfect, but again, is authentic and human, then people will respond to that. But if you can't do that, then you're in trouble. So once again, it's not super important that you have every word perfectly memorized and have the perfect body language, but rather that you're present with the audience and can actually just legibly, audibly, deliver the message in a way that's somewhat understandable. Next, number 4, a poor system or no system for proactively turning free gigs into gigs, right? This is the big one that took me a long time to figure out. And, when I work with coaching clients, that's the first reaction they have is like, you want me to do free gigs? Like, what are you talking about? And that's one of the prongs that we use for sure. There are others. And one of the fastest ways, again, to get paid speaking gigs is free speaking gigs if you avoid these 6 mistakes. And that's the big problem. That's the excuses that a lot of speakers have and the resistance that a lot of speakers have to free gigs. But then I explained to them, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to use this evaluation form on steroids. We're going to use our slide bookends. We're going to use our reframing and casual mentions in our actual script. We're going to use these various techniques, and there are 39 of them, to do it every single gig, to proactively turn that gig into more gigs. You see, here's what you cannot do. You cannot go and do a free gig, then go home, and then cross your fingers and wait and hope, right? We call that hope marketing, and that is not a strategy. You've got to be proactive and not reactive. So you've got to make sure that you're collecting the audience members' email addresses. You've got to make sure that you are taking care of the client before, during, and after the actual event, and finding ways to leverage all of those opportunities that you have as being a featured speaker for their event. That is something that can be leveraged in so many ways. So number 4 is poor system or no system. Number 5, poor sales conversations. This happens when, you do a free speech, someone likes you and they say, hey, we want to bring you into our annual conference. And you say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what am I going to charge them? And oh my gosh, what do they want? And how do I get on the phone and uncover what their actual needs are? And what do I charge? What do I charge? What do I charge? Right? All of those systems in place to have the sales conversation, which isn't just a conversation on a phone or on a Zoom, but a process. Right. In fact, in the links below, you will see my inquiry to income process, step by step by step, exactly what to do when the inquiry comes in, says, hey, we might want you to speak. How much do you charge and are you available? To converting that into an actual check that is much higher than you think it would have been at the very beginning. That is the inquiry to income process. Take a look. It's in the Medium section in the links below this video, whether you are on YouTube or watching this on Facebook. So if you have the ability to speak about what you speak about, if you have the ability to craft offers that clients cannot say no to, if you have the ability to give them what they need in order to take you and your idea and your offer, turn around, bring it to the speaker selection committee, turn around, bring it to the board, turn around, bring it to the boss, and that can seal the deal for you, then you have good sales conversations, right? Without that ability, again, you're stuck in the mud. You're not going to get any progress, even if someone says, we want to hire you, if you can't lead them down the path. And a lot of speakers are great at speaking. They want to speak. And many people also will say, get me on the phone and I'll close that deal. Get me on the phone and I'll close that deal. And part of it is just the passion and enthusiasm for the message that they bring that is transferred to the client or the potential client. But I will say this, I've seen more speakers who lack in the area of sales and marketing and just the inability to take and the lack of understanding of what it's like to book a high fee corporate speaking gig. And even when that opportunity crosses the path, even when the ideal client with the budget comes along, you end up shooting yourself in the foot because you undercharge, or you end up shooting yourself in the foot because you didn't ask just the right question to uncover, open a door to a whole new opportunity. So poor sales conversations, in fact, for me, it's not just a conversation, it's an entire 5-step process that we bring prospects through. So that is 5. Number six is you quit too soon, right? Let's be honest, you quit too soon. For me, again, I did 9 free speaking engagements before I booked a single paid gig. Now, that's not great numbers. And again, I didn't have a process. I didn't have a system. My very first 9 free gigs were just like the way everybody else does it. Maybe I didn't have a great topic. Maybe I didn't have great message packaging. Maybe I didn't have great delivery. Maybe I had no system. I definitely had no system. Maybe I didn't have any idea on how to have sales conversations or take people through the process. And I was just throwing stuff against the wall. And I learned after the first gig, I tweaked something. After the second gig, I tried something different. The third gig, I tried something different. And that's what I mean by quitting too soon. If you don't try something different and try again, that's the same thing as quitting, right? You could go and do the same thing a zillion times in a row and get the same results. That's the same as not even doing them at all. So again, if it doesn't work and you do it anyway, what difference is it from it doesn't work and then you quit and you don't do it, right? So I think there is a part of the process where it does take time, and that time is involved with tweaking your process. It sometimes, I will tell you this, some of our clients, they do 1 free speech and they get 3 qualified leads and they close a deal, and then they close a consulting contract over here. So it's like a speech and then a consulting contract or some other form of income. And some of them even get upset. They're like, oh man, I wanted to book free speaking gigs, and now all I have over here is a consulting contract or a coaching contract. And gosh darn it, I wanted different kinds of money. Well, you go to the bank and you cash the check. The bank teller doesn't say, hey, how did you earn this? is this from a paid speaking gig or is this from your other business that you were already running? No, they just cash the check and deposit the money. So that is the 6, and I'll read them through one more time. Poor topic selection, poor message packaging, poor delivery, poor system or no system for turning free gigs into gigs, poor sales conversations, or once again, systems to take people through the inquiry to the income process. And finally, number 6, quitting too soon. We cannot say we did that today in a 15-minute and 17-second live stream. No, we stayed to the bitter end. And thank you to those of you who did as well. Please get yourself subscribed. We do this every single day, and I'll tell you that right there is a ton of value for anybody who is willing to put in that hustle muscle to go do some free speaking, get seen, and get booked and get paid. All right, that is it for today. We'll speak soon.